Have you ever had someone apologize or say, I'm sorry, and there's this moment where you don't really know what to say? You know the expected and socially acceptable response is, it's okay, but you don't really want to say that because, well, maybe it's not okay. So today we're going to talk about 3 different ways to respond to an apology other than it's okay. Stay tuned. Apologies in relationships happen often, or at least they should be happening once in a while. And what does that mean? That means sometimes we screw up. We hurt each other, we say things we don't mean, we let each other down. Relationships involve hurt and pain. It's not fun, but it's the reality. So, there are going to be times when someone you care about, whether it's your partner, a family member, a coworker, a friend, apologizes because they've hurt you, they've disappointed you, and they might say, I'm sorry. And in that moment, you've got a choice. How are you going to respond? I think 99% of people respond with, it's okay. But here's why I'm not such a big fan of that response. I think it's okay is sort of minimizing. And the idea is it sort of dissolves all the blame or the hurt or the impact. Because the reality is sometimes when we hurt somebody else, even if it's not intentional, it's not okay. So I want to talk about 3 ways to respond instead. The first is, I appreciate your apology. I appreciate your apology. Basically what this does is you are acknowledging that the person kind of took a risk and is putting themselves out there and apologizing, right? So it's literally like saying, I hear that and I'm totally going to take that in, and I know that was probably really hard for you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the risk and all the emotion and involved in that. I appreciate your apology. It doesn't necessarily mean you forgive or it's all better, but you say, I appreciate your apology. I will totally disclose that was a childhood go-to in my family. I can still hear my mom saying that in my brain. I appreciate your apology, Allison. So blame her. That's where that one comes from. The second one is, I hear you. And if you're thinking, oh God, Dr. Allison, that one's kind of ugh. I know, it is. I really reserve this for situations where my guard is still up, or something about the person's apology doesn't feel sincere or doesn't feel like they're really owning up to it. Sometimes I will use this in situations where somebody has maybe been kind of offensive or like borderline, I don't know, inappropriate, or they've sort of crossed a line. I hear you. It's my way of saying I literally hear the words coming out of your mouth and that you're apologizing. But it doesn't necessarily convey a lot of openness or empathy or a readiness to really repair that relationship. So I don't use this one often, but sometimes in situations you might find that you're not really ready to convey warmth and empathy and sort of this, I don't know, genuineness to the person. So I hear you is a way to do that. I wouldn't recommend that you use it often, but there are going to be some situations where that is really the best we can do. The third response moves a little bit beyond both of those, and that is, I accept your apology, right? I accept your apology. This one was big in my house growing up. Accepting someone's apology is basically you're acknowledging it, right? So it's that first one, but you're also sort of integrating it and sort of having increased empathy and understanding into the person's apology. It's a way of saying, I hear you, I'm going to take that in, and now we are going to turn the page and sort of start new or start from a new place. So I accept your apology, I think conveys sort of a deeper understanding or appreciation and acknowledgement of that response. This is one I use a lot in my marriage because the reality is we are 2 people who love each other a whole lot, and that means our ability to hurt one another's feelings is increased. So just because we're 2 psychologists, yes, my husband's a psychologist, doesn't mean that we don't apologize to one another, that we don't hurt one another. We do. We don't intend to, but it happens. So if we've had a misunderstanding, that's often one I'll use with him because the reality is I do accept it, fully take that in, integrate that, and feel ready to kind of turn that page and start from where we are. Now, All of these sort of, it depends which situation, what's the relationship, right? You're gonna have to do some trial and error in these because I guarantee you they're gonna feel strange. I'm gonna encourage you to try to get away from it's okay. If it really is okay, someone's running late, they made a mistake, they forgot they were bringing something for the potluck, fine, it's okay, that fits. But in the other situations, try one of those other 3 responses. I think you'll find that it sits better with us because it's a deeper reflection of how we really feel and not glossing over or brushing over the pain or the hurt that's happened or the damage that's been done in that encounter. Now, let me give you one little aside. I once had somebody tell me I was on the receiving end of I appreciate or I accept your apology, and it did not feel warm or genuine. Well, the reality is when you're on the receiving end of that, it might not feel great because the reality is when we hurt someone, we want someone to just say it's okay, and then all our guilt, all our shame, all our feeling bad can just disappear. But y'all, when we hurt someone, that's not really healthy either. So if you're on the receiving end of one of these responses, it might not feel awesome, but that's okay. It's important as humans that we learn to tolerate that. So I want you to think about those 3 responses. I hear you, I appreciate that, or I appreciate your apology, and I accept your apology. Try to use those instead of the it's okay. Don't feel pressure to say it's okay if it's not okay. Try one of these responses instead. If you want more goodness like this, check out my website, drallisonanswers.com, or you can click subscribe if you're watching this on my YouTube channel. We can choose to live more healthy and meaningful lives, and I'm here to help you do that. So let's keep going.